Today I have with me Kino Rollins. Kino is a cruise ship worker. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, as Kobie said, my name is Kino. I've been working on cruise ships for about 2 years now in the duty-free retail section. And This was basically a very good experience. So if anyone out there is interested, I would definitely suggest that you try it.
Okay, so just tell me a little bit now. Cruise ships have been the hot topic in this whole pandemic. Um, Working on a cruise ship, how was it leading up to the outbreak that we would have seen? And I know that you were in Australia, so just tell me a little bit about the time leading up to that time, and then your journey back home.
Well, as it would be so interesting, I actually started this contract in January. All right. So when I would have gotten to arrive to the ship, there was some instances where you would have watched the news, you would have seen that there's a potential outbreak of a virus that was being occurred. And at a point in time, it was just isolated to China. But I've been having access to daily news, and you're seeing that there's a chance that this thing could spread. So what we would usually do on the cruise ship, try to be aware. We sanitize every 20 minutes or so. What they also do as well is that they give you announcements. It gives you a lot of leaflets and stuff. Try to keep you abreast and not create any panic. So you just try to keep your hands washed frequently. But however, on the cruise ship within itself, prior to the major outbreak, leading up to that, then you try to it was just being basically sanitary. You try to be as sanitary and clean as possible. Try to wash your hands frequently. It wasn't anything too out the way or drastic measures leading up to that point in time. But as we got into more serious times, then you would find there's a case where places where you eat, usually in the mess area, where you have large gatherings of people, you try to wash your hands frequently. You're also told if you're starting to feel any symptoms of sickness, just report yourself to the medical area as soon as possible. And then you'd probably do a little self-isolation, or they would just check you out to see what's really wrong with you at a point in time. But outside of that, on the cruise ship is try to remain calm, because you still have to deal with guests as well. So you don't want to create panic among the crew. Then that will also lead to panic among the guests. So you just try to keep everything, because we are responsible for not only ourselves, but for their safety as well. So you try to just maintain a level of calmness throughout the whole situation leading up to that event.
Well, all cruise liners have kind of berth now for I think 30 days now. Tell us about your journey from coming off the cruise ship to back home.
Okay, well, coming up to that point in time, I think our ship was actually the first one to actually be put out of service. And that was through to the fact we were actually leaving Australia, going over to the US. And we would have done some cruises into the Alaska region as well. But what actually happened is that Canada closed their borders early, and they were not having a chance to reopen until July. So because of the case, we are not able to sail out of the US into international territory. Therefore, our ship would have been put out of service for that time being. So we would have left the 21st of March to make my way home. And the thing is about it is that at this point in time, by the 21st of March, you could understand the chaos that the world would have been in. So the primary focus would have been, can they get flights? Would flights be still operational when I get to my second destination? Because as you can tell, coming from Australia back to Barbados is a very long haul. So the main focus that I was experiencing was, can I get home? That's the main focus. Am I gonna get there? Am I gonna be stuck in airports? And you gotta try to be as prepared for anything as possible, because traveling at this point in time would have been very scary for me. So my connection would have put me from Australia up to Dubai, and then Dubai on to London, London then on to Barbados. So that's upwards close to 30 hours of flying there. So it's just a case of trying to make sure your connections are right. And when you get to the airport, just made a plan. Keep yourself distanced. Wash your hands constantly. Keep your surroundings clean. Try to keep your luggage in a place where you can keep an eye on it all the time. Sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Because contrary to what people might believe, in airports, I think it would have been a bit more sanitary because everybody would have been more or less trying to keep away from each other. You know, you pass through the airports, you see people actually in semi hazmat suits, traveling with gloves, full gear, just trying to, stay away. And then you start to get the full focus of what's really happening because when you're on the ship, they screen people who were coming on board. So if you were coming from China, if you were coming from certain locations, they would not allow you to board. If you were experiencing any sicknesses, then the doctor will isolate you, and that's as a guest. But now you're out in the open world now, you're trying to get somewhere, then you start to think about a lot of stuff. So for me personally, it was just a case of, can I get home and can I stay as safe as possible? Because when you think about it, Barbados is a pretty small place compared to other people, and we're heavily populated still. But you don't want to have that instance where you come into contact with somebody, and then all of a sudden, then you have this virus and you bring it home, right?
Yeah, and in terms of as soon as you got home, you would have gone into self quarantine. When you came in, were they doing checks at the airport, and what was your progress? What was your transition like coming from the airport and just going through to self quarantine? And how did you handle that 14 days?
In terms of self quarantine, once we got off the flight, but we got onto the flight, then the flight attendants on board the British Airways flight will have told us that when we get into Barbados, possibility that you can be quarantined up to 14 days within a facility after they do checks. So if we got to Barbados, you come off the aircraft, you go through a lot of sanitary points before you get to immigration and stuff. But however, as soon as you get off the plane, there are two nurses there who actually did the screening process where they were taking your temperature and then advise you what precautions to take if you're starting to feel any if you're feeling sick or anything at that point in time, then what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So after that, then you collect your luggage and you go. When I went home. No, the thing is, when I went home, it was a self quarantine process because it's very ticklish. I actually just got rid of all the clothing that I had before I actually got inside. So all of my clothing, I left my luggage on the outside, changed my clothing. That's not changed. I actually went straight into the shower, sanitize yourself from head to toe, get the clothing into a garbage bag at that point in time. And then it was just going to be a case of sanitizing the luggage. Just getting something, so Febreze, spraying on it, wiping it off, because you don't want to bring those things into the house as well. Then after that, then it was just a process of trying to keep yourself alive for the next 14 days. Just being isolated away, because it's just me and my mom, we live together. So I just mainly stuck to being in my room for that 14-day process.
And how did you cope? How did you handle that isolation for those 14 days? Seeing as how your job on a cruise ship is constantly interacting with people,
Constantly.
social.
Yeah.
How did you cope?
Well, the thing is, Australia is about 13 to 15 hours time difference. So most of the time I sleep during the day because when I'm over there, daytime is nighttime here. So when I got back home, it's basically readjusting to the time difference. So most of it was with sleep. So most of it caught with sleep. So you find yourself up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So what I would usually do is just try to keep abreast of all the information that's going on, what's happening in the outside world, and I would check up with my friends because the thing is, I would consider myself extremely lucky because I still have friends and other co-workers who are on the ship. They have no flights to get home, so they're actually still there. And I consider myself, as I said, very lucky to be home. So I just try to keep your mind occupied, do a lot of reading and stuff. But outside of that, it was pretty okay for me.
And you are at the end of your self quarantine period, and you've not tested or shown any symptoms for the virus. Just mention your friends just now. How has this entire pandemic, not only in terms of having to come home and self quarantine, but in terms of the cruise industry where you work on a whole, how has this affected you personally and financially?
Well, personally, this is something, as we said, unprecedented. We've only probably seen this in movies, heard about this in books and that sort of stuff. So it's a very ticklish situation now because obviously you're home, all right? You can't work, you can't make the income that you would normally bring in, and everything is on pause. So now you're at a standpoint now of, okay, what money you do have, you're gonna have to make this stretch because at this point in time, you don't have no idea of how long we're gonna be home, how long we're gonna be outside of work, and now Barbados is in quarantine, so it's not as easy to say as, okay, I'm not working on the ship, I can come home and find a job, right? Because everything is now at a point where you're in uncharted territory. So for me, it's just trying to be as self-contained as I possibly can without having to make any financial decisions outside of probably just getting food and supplies to stay alive at this point in time. But outside of that, I'm at a complete loss because we don't know what's going to happen next. So you just have to wait and see what's going to happen.
Well, it's a wait and see game for Kino Rollins. Thank you so much for talking to us here today and sharing your experience as a cruise ship worker.
All right, thank you very much for having me.